was talking to Evan. Evan and Stoney do the Restore the Floor Piston podcast here at 97.1. So, covers this team on a regular basis, talks about it on a regular basis. And I asked Evan that question today. I said, what do you think they're up to? And you know what he said? It was interesting. He said, I think they're getting Duren back, and that's it. And I think the money that they have left over, and this is the least exciting thing in the world in terms of the offseason, is going to be taken to the trade deadline. And I'm not sure that isn't the smartest thing you can do, because now you are playing. You are an opportunity in NBA games to assess and then address whatever issues you have that you see developing with a new cast of characters around the core. You will have a chance to see your upgrades, and I put in quotes, your upgrades in action, and figure out what you're lacking. And you, instead of doing it now and trying to add something now, you are going to take it for a test drive first. And I'm not convinced that that's not the smartest thing for them to do.
No, I understand what you're saying.
All right, so they're basically talking about if Jalen Duren is that the last move they gonna make, and most people would probably say, most Pistons fans say, yeah, they probably did all this move and they just gonna ask Jalen Duren back, and that's gonna be it. Now, from my understanding, when you're talking about they created 35, me specify that they created 35 million in cap space by making a deal for Gary Harris and the LeVert deal and the Isaiah Stewart deal and maybe another deal. The cap space that they have is pretty much luxury tax. So they can sign anybody for that 35 or the money they got left. They can sign anybody for up to 45 some million dollars or 30, 45 million or something like that. It's about it's about going into the luxury tax is the key, because you can use that money that you got now that is available. You can sign Peyton Watson, you can sign Kevin Durant, and still sign Jalen Duren as long as you don't exceed the salary cap. And you can exceed the salary cap threshold, you're just going to have to pay a tax. So that's what people are forgetting. In the NBA, you can go over the salary cap signing your own player. So that's why you want to get all the free agents you can and then sign your own player. Now they created they made thresholds to the salary cap where you get penalized if you go too high into the salary cap. So the Pistons still can add somebody like Peyton Watson and sign a guy like Jalen Duren still. So that's what people are not really understanding. Is that it's not the cap space that you have. You can use that to sign a free agent, but also you still can bring back Duren. You're now looking at, once you bring in a Peyton Watson per se, now you're looking at Jalen Duren and saying that, okay, we got to sign him, but we can't go. We don't want to go into the salary cap threshold and get penalized. You still can sign them. There's just going to be a penalty for each threshold that you cross. So people don't understand that. I remember when, as much 2K as people play, I remember playing live back in the day in 2K. It teaches you that. And I know since then the rules have changed a little bit. Since the super teams and the Warriors, the rules have changed a bit. So yeah, I think most people don't really understand it. Like, you can go through that threshold signing your own players. If you go too far, if you go through those thresholds, you get penalized for that. Yeah, you get penalized for that. So don't forget it. You know what I'm saying? So yeah. So do I think this is going to be the final move that they make? I mean, my heart says, my heart said no, but my head say yeah. They're probably going to go into next year. A bunch of guys, maybe somebody get waived or something, but still screams another move is coming. They got a log jam still with getting Tyrese Prince and Gary Harris. So that means that, maybe Tyrese Prince and them going to be the vets off the bench or deep on the bench, or Ibaka is going to take Marcus Sasser and sit on the bench and develop him. Most likely it's not going to be in the scenarios that we want, but I feel like they got better. I will say that. They deeper. They got more shooting, but I don't really feel like they made the jump that they should have made. But also, I think Miami made a huge jump. Just kind of looking at their roster, depth is going to be a probably issue. I don't really look at the Toronto making, I feel like, they need to replace Jakob Poeltl. They needed somebody else other than Jakob Poeltl. I feel like they missed the boat there. The Knicks, they lost Mitchell Robinson. That'll hurt, but they'll be all right. I feel like Boston got worse. So I don't feel like, 76ers in Miami significantly got better. But also, even, I don't care where LeBron go. Even with that situation being, you still banking on Joel to be healthy. So, and then, the Heat don't have depth. The Pistons have an opportunity to strike now. They let a trade exception expire on Tuesday with the Dennis Schroeder deal. Personally, Kevin Durant will make the East lit. You know what I'm saying? But he probably got 1, maybe 2 good years left. And you start thinking about moves, they should look at Drew Holiday, Shea Sharp, Peyton Watson. Those should be 3 guys that they should look at. And I'll talk about Trey Murphy later on because there were some reports that they never intended to trade Trey Murphy. It was some confusion, and I'm gonna talk about that. But if I'm being 100% honest with you guys, I think they're done. They're gonna bring Duren in, and the next obstacle is the next thing is gonna see, how disgruntled he is, and then we're going to start talking about the trade deadline. Terajan should go ahead and make the move, clear the space, make a deal for Peyton Watson. If Denver want to do a sign trade, so be it. If not, sign Peyton Watson, bring Jalen Duren back, put Watson in the lineup with Cade and Asar, Duren, and Collins. You immediately upgrade defensively. You get a guy that shot 41% from 3. And he becoming a scorer, and defensively, you got 3 really good defenders on your perimeter. So with him, Cade, and Asar. But if you go get Kevin Durant, then obviously it's a little bit different. You got to play Ibuka Corey at that point. But in general, they got a logjam of a lot of talent. So at some point, they're gonna have to get rid of some guy. And you lost a scorer. Nobody gonna talk about that. So now you lost a guy that can create his own offense and Karis LeVert. Now you down to Cade and Dennis Jenkins can get their own offense. Not saying Karis LeVert was he was Karis LeVert last year, but now you only got 2 guys plus Ibuka or Corey who can get their own offense now. So you lost a guy that can get you a bucket. You can't come in here this year with less guys that can get their own shot than the previous year. That's an L. That's an L unless you tell me Asar Thompson and Ron Holland's going to come back better. So that's where they really lost that if they just bring Duren back. You lost a guy that can get his own offense, and you didn't bring a guy. Maybe you brought a guy in. I say maybe because of Ibuka Corey. They're probably not going to play him. He probably going to take the Marcus Sasser approach and sit on the bench. So really, you lost a shot creator to get a bunch of guys who can't get their own shot. So I hear people saying, well, Cade ball, what do you want him to do? When he's not in the game, they can't score. When he in the game, who he giving the ball to be able to get a bucket where he can just space the floor and cut and support the other? He don't have it. They don't have it. I hate to break it to you guys. They don't have it. So you lost another guy that could score the basketball. You lost another one. And if you don't play Ibuka Corey, you down to only 2 guys that can get you a bucket, Jenkins and Cade. How are you in a better position last year? So you hope that they get a guy like Watson, Kevin Durant to fill that void, or Zach LaVine. But if I was a betting man, I don't think that's going to happen. So, hey, hit the link in the description. Find me on X, Facebook, Kick, Twitch, Instagram, Spotify, Anchor, Cash App, Venmo, PayPal. Appreciate the love and support. Check out Detroit Pistons Talk playlist. Peace.
I'm more annoyed with the Pistons, only for one reason. And I think I'm more patient with them, though, but I am more frustrated only because the Wings, even if they make a big move, okay, they're still a ways away from getting to the Stanley Cup Finals.
Yep.
Okay, let alone the playoffs or all that stuff. The Pistons, everybody who has vision knew the problem before the playoffs. Everybody with vision, and even Trajan Langdon addressed some of their maladies after the season, knows what they need to take the next step, and they haven't done that yet. They've done some moves marginally. I don't think it's going to make them better than the Knicks or, those type of teams, even Toronto now with Kawhi.
Their offseason has been frustrating because it does feel like we're all staring at the same stuff. Mm-hmm. Get that secondary scorer creator for Cade and then outfit the roster with shooting around them.
Yes.
And it feels like they're doing the shooting around them part, but the thing staring you in the face is who's the co-star for Cade? Because it's not Jalen Duren, even if you work out the deal. And Asar is a defensive chess piece, but he is not a guy that's taking pressure off on the offensive end of the floor. So what are you going to do about it? And it feels like they are dancing around, circling, and we're just waiting to see them pull the trigger. Like, Stoney, this has to be leading somewhere with the moves they've made this offseason. And the latest from yesterday, dumping Karis LeVert, attaching a couple second-round picks, taking back Prince and Harris, who are minimum salaries, creating a trade exception. You factor that in with dumping Isaiah Stewart for cash savings, right?
Yeah.
Where is this leading? $48 million under the luxury tax when all is said and done. Where is this headed?